Every day is just one heartbeat away from a headline. This is Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski, featuring retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer.
The trial against Robert Tellis continues on. By the time you're watching or listening to this, there may already be a verdict. We're recording this at the end of the week on the 23rd of August, just as Robert Tellis's testimony is wrapping up. We're going to take a look at some of that on Cross today with Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI Special Agent. Before we get into looking at some of those clips, I know you saw some of his testimony initially, his narrative testimony that he was giving out. In his attorney, obviously, in that sort of a testimony situation, not sitting there, asking him questions. He's just kind of going off and telling what he thinks is real. What's been your reaction thus far from what we've seen?
Well, this is a rare situation that the judge allowed and that both parties agreed to allow this sort of narrative version of testifying without having any questions asked. I found it quite fascinating, Tony, because he just really went on just a diatribe of information. He was so all over the board. It was very scattered. He made some points he wanted to make, obviously wanted to say his opinions, and that got shut down pretty quick. But at the end of the day, I think this was just really to make him feel better.
That's what it seems like. I mean, he feels like a child, a very like a 5 or a 6-year-old. The way he's digging into everything, despite facts being directly in front of him, he seems to have some reason as to why these things. It's like the dog ate my homework, and he's dug into it very, very strong. And I don't think he's coming out of it. I mean, it makes me wonder if he truly believes that, or what's going on in his mind.
Well, I don't think that he really believes it, but he is committed to getting other people to believe it. And so I think he's putting on what I think is an acting job, Tony, where somebody understands the importance of conveying all of these facts as he wants people to believe them. And so that's why he's just so dug in. And even though they don't make any sense, he just keeps reiterating them, hoping, I think, that maybe one juror will buy into his baloney.
He feels like a case study in like narcissistic personality disorder, just watching him continue on. Early on in his testimony, one of the first things he said was, my concern is that you hear what I believe took place. And I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but there was a lot of, this is my concern that you don't see it from my perspective, basically. And there was a lot of knows, predicating everything that he was talking about, which is a very classic sign of kind of narcissism, trying to get people into whatever narrative you're trying to express. And we all say that as a filler quite often, but he was kind of over the top on some of it, it felt.
Tony, the first thing I wrote in my notes when I took notes on his testimony was exactly that quote you said, where how he started the whole thing off, how important it was for him to let them understand how he thinks, not the facts, not what the truth is, but how he thinks about it. And again, I agree with you on, that is a clear narcissistic type view. That people need to see it how I see it. How anyone else sees it is truly irrelevant. And his really skirting the facts. I loved his whole explanation of how he cut his finger. There's something that when we interview and what we're taught about interviewing, when people use a lot of detail, excessive detail, that is a sign of lying. She doesn't really like to have school lunches. Well, now she does, but back then she wouldn't. And so I made her chicken fried rice. And then, as I was cutting it, and then I cut this tip, but you can see it was really cutting this way. And then I used super glue, but then the super glue bottle was closed. So then I had to cut it open. When that happens, it's just for anyone who is taught interviewing skills, it's a red flag.
Yeah, it was word salad because it just continued to be a lot of things that had nothing to do with the case. No one was really questioning how he super glued his finger back together, or the super glue bottle, or chicken fried rice, or the fact that he has 3 cars. He had to get that in there too. Just a little bit of braggadociousness, which I found to be rather amusing, because it was all just par for the course of someone that thinks this way. And it feels the difference between, I think, someone lying that is, I guess, of a more healthy brain versus a narcissist or a narcissistic personality disorder, which I feel like he's in. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. Is the fact that as long as everyone sees things through their prism, well, then it's all okay. Everything's right. If everybody sees it through my prism, no problem at all. Someone with a more healthy brain would go, they know I'm lying. That's not a good thing. I'm going to see how long this lasts. But it reaches a level of acceptance with these folks. If you all see it through my prism, we're all good. Facts be damned. There are no facts. There's only what I want you to feel and how I feel about this. And if I feel okay about this, then we should all be okay with it.
Yeah, it was a terrible example of testifying, and really why, if you're a defendant, you should not testify. I have never seen a defendant, other than, actually, I did see a defendant do a great job testifying because he was actually telling the truth. But that's rare.
Yes.
So many people are guilty of the crimes they commit. Or there was the recent self-defense case of that woman who talked about her, abuse. That was very real and very relatable because she was telling the truth. Mm-hmm. But when people get up on that stand and they're not telling the truth, it just is so obvious to everyone watching. And that jury, I can't wait to hear what they have to say if they speak to the media about his testimony.
I agree. I mean, this feels to me like he's winning the award this year for the worst defendant testifying on the stand. I think last year it went to Alec Murdaugh. It's going to be a hard one to beat by the end of the year. We're going to give it awards, I think, in December for this.
You're in the thick of a true crime saga, every detail sinking in. And then, wham, a commercial about something you couldn't care less about. It's like being served a microwaved dinner at a 5-star restaurant. But it doesn't have to be this way. Go for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. With True Crime Today Premium Plus, you get uninterrupted, ad-free episodes, extended interviews that dig even deeper into the muck, and early access so you can brag to your friends. It's like ordering the secret menu at a crime buffet. So, search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and savor every twisted detail without interruption.